In 2020, I was wiped. After years of working as a full-time freelancer for way too many clients without taking any proper time off, having very few boundaries, often working on weekends, evenings, checking my phone and Slack all the time, I was done. I was unmotivated, exhausted, frustrated. I would lay in bed for a really long time in the mornings just trying to avoid my laptop, and that was really weird for me. I am someone who I think I'm someone who I'm sure, like a lot of you, takes a lot of pride in, my productivity and my work ethic, and suddenly that was completely gone and I was like, who even am I? Like, who is this person? So yeah, it was really bizarre, and I think this is a super important topic to talk about because I don't want to just help you become a successful freelancer or successful freelance digital business manager or anything like that. I want to help you create a sustainable, long-term career as a freelancer or entrepreneur or whatever you want to be, and working so hard you burn yourself out is not it. Like, it's not a healthy approach in any way to you, to your business, to the people around you. It's just not what we're after. Like, there is a right way to freelance where it's sustainable and the most magical life decision you will ever make for yourself and your freedom. But burning yourself out is not part of that agenda. Hey, my name is Dea, freelancer, digital business manager, most recently an entrepreneur, if you will. And as always, you can find sections on the play bar below if you want to skip to a certain part of the video. Your time is precious, so take what you need. And if you want to watch this on 2x, I will not be offended in the least. Okay, let's dive into the video. So a disclaimer here, I am not a medical professional. If you are experiencing burnout or are currently really burnt out, speak to a trained medical health professional that can help you long-term on your recovery. This video is just to share our rough internet research and what I personally did to cope with my own burnout. So just as a heads up. So according to the internet, burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. So you are exhausted, you feel isolated, overwhelmed, you are easily irritable, you have these fantasies of escaping. One fantasy I had was, I'm just gonna close my laptop, never open it again, never check my email again, quit everything, move to the middle of nowhere where there's no internet and nobody can contact me. And yeah, burnout to me felt like no matter how much I wanted to do work because it was my routine and it was such a big part of my personality and my identity and who I was, there was some sort of blockage there, like a wall. I could sit down and do a little work if I really tried and forced myself, but after a while I just wouldn't be able to continue or focus anymore. I was not nearly as productive as I used to be. I was laying in bed a lot, really upset at myself, telling myself all sorts of mean things that I would never say to anyone else, and every task felt like the biggest mountain to do, and it fed into this really weird cycle of not being able to do as much as I wanted. Then I was demotivated because nothing would get done. Then I wouldn't do any work because I was demotivated, and then I would be mad at myself, and it went on like this, right? Demotivated at lack of progress, then not doing work, then there was no progress, then I was demotivated again, on and on and on, basically. So yeah, that's what it felt like to me. And here are some pre-burnout symptoms and stages according to the interwebs. Once again, what would we do without the interwebs, honestly? But I wanted to share some pre-burnout stages to be mindful of as you may be experiencing potentially some of these now. So the first one is excessive ambition and drive. I definitely had this. I was so intrinsically motivated to do more and do better all the time. I've always been like this ever since middle school or something, probably because I was I was raised mostly in Asia where there was a lot of pressure in school and everything. There was a lot of pride associated with doing really well and everything. And yeah, so I'm I don't know where it comes from, but that's probably part of where it came from. Probably also created that people pleaser in me who's nothing is good enough. And I think ambition and drive is healthy in good doses, but if you are overexerting for every single project, task, putting tons of pressure on yourself in addition to the external pressures you're getting from whoever to constantly do more and better and work harder than everyone else, it does get to that excessive, unhealthy level. 2, neglecting your mental or physical needs, right? So that means skipping meals, not taking breaks, not going outside, not hydrating properly, not seeing friends or family, not taking time for hobbies, things outside of work that you enjoy. That's what hobbies are. Not making time for non-work things. So that was absolutely me. I had no hobbies. I was hobby, what's that? I don't know her. So it's very important to think about, do I have things outside of work now already? The next one, 4, was denial. I was in major denial. I was like, this is fine. This is fine. This is normal. Everything, it's like that meme where everything's on fire and you're like, this is okay. This is what it's supposed to be like. Other symptoms are like withdrawal from your normal activities and people that you surround yourself with, behavioral changes like irritability. So I was very irritable, and I feel like bad about this one. But the smallest things felt like the biggest things. It's like the smallest inconveniences, derailed your day and your work so much that they felt like these huge things. Other things that are mentioned by the internet are things like detachment, anxiety, emptiness, depression, and mental or physical collapse would probably be the most severe one. And I just want to take a second also to talk about like burnout versus stress, because I didn't know what exactly the line was between like I'm just stressed versus I might be burning out. So thank you for the internet for this. This is based on Dr. Craig D's research, and I'll link things below in the description box if you're curious to read more. So what he says is stress is normally you're working too hard. Burnout is more, it's hard to work hard for whatever reason. Stress is, you're riding that emotional wave, but burnout is where your emotions start to feel like less sharp. It feels really dull and almost like you've numbed yourself to it. When you're stressed, you're like anxious and everything's like moving fast and everything, like the adrenaline is pumping. But when you're burnt out, you feel like perpetually depleted and a little helpless. When you're stressed, you may have less energy, but when you're burnt out, you have less motivation to like do things, right? Like even if you have energy, you just don't want to do it. Burnout is detrimental, to say the least. I just bit my tongue. Burnout is detrimental to your physical or mental health. It interferes with everything. Your professional, personal relationship, it drains your energy, harms your ability to cope and ability to do work. That's not what we're about. That's not what we want. We don't want to work ourselves into burnout just for the sake of making some extra money or pleasing other people. Worst of all, we want to create happy, sustainable, joy-filled careers where we feel on average, satisfied and excited about our work. We may not always love it, but we like it most of the time. That's really the goal, right? So let's talk about what happens when you feel you may be close to burnout, aka systems to put in place, checks and balances to ensure you're taking care of yourself so you can actually try to put a little halt to it or slow it down. This is obviously aside from seeking out a medical professional. That is what you should do if you're noticing your symptoms are getting serious or dire. All right, so here are a few tips and strats. First one is begin immediately with setting some clear and defined boundaries. Boundaries are essentially rules you give yourself to protect yourself from your work bleeding into every aspect of your life and existence and taking over everything. Very professional definition, I know. So grab a pen and paper and very importantly, write down your boundaries and declare them out loud to yourself. When do you stop working? When and how fast do you respond to messages that is realistic for you? What is acceptable and non-acceptable ways for clients to treat you and make you feel? So some examples I implemented include not checking my emails on weekends. I turn off of work entirely. I don't even open my laptop on the weekends. I took my work emails off of my phone, that kind of stuff. So write it down, tell your clients, take it seriously, respect those boundaries because they are protecting you. Second thing, drop the toxic clients that are causing you more stress than they are truly worth. And I know it's hard. Scarcity mindset will tell you like, yeah, but what if you don't find another client? Like, yeah, but what if this, what if that? Look, in my experience, after working with dozens and dozens of clients, a toxic client is never worth any amount of money. They will destroy you and drain you to a point where it actually costs you money, not to mention like your mental health and mental energy to work with them because they take up so much energy and space. You have nothing left for other clients or even time to find new clients to replacement. And if a client makes you feel like garbage, makes you anxious, makes you uncomfortable, is disrespectful, let them go, right? There are better people out there for you to work with. Tip 3, rethink your rates and your pricing and potentially your packages and services. So do you maybe need to raise your rates so you can decrease your workload? What could that potentially look like? Could you move from hourly to packages or retainers based on deliverables? I have a full video that breaks down what those are that I'll link to the top right corner. I'm pretty sure it's this side. So that your work is less about the amount of time you're working and more about the results. 4, take serious time off. Take proper time off. And I know this is a hard tip for some people, especially if you haven't taken time off in a while. It's hard to check out when your work is so close to you and so instrumental in your routine and your day-to-day living. And I've actually got an entire video on how I had to relearn how to take time off and my process for getting better at it. I'll link to it in the top right corner again. I'm like 80% sure this is the top right corner. So take proper time off. And by proper, I mean one where you can be fully checked out. Because for a while, I also went on vacation with my laptop where I worked every single day anyway. And I mean, like, that's fun and nice, but that's not really taking proper time off. You can't really recharge when your mind is still on and thinking about work the whole day, right? Because if you check your emails for like 2 hours and then you like do some work, so you're on a weekly call, then for the rest of the day, you're like still thinking on those things instead of being like checked properly off, reading a book that's like fiction, super fun, hobbies, that kind of stuff. Tip 5 is probably the most important. Through all of this, check on your mindset and be aware of what's going on up here and be nice to yourself, right? Like, you're going through something hard, so try your best not to like shame or guilt trip yourself. Give yourself grace. Don't go down the cycle of stress that I went down on. Society tells us like, oh, if you're not productive, if you don't work X hours a week, if you don't climb the ladder and make more money this year than last, then like you're a failure. It's not true. Like, none of that is true whatsoever. So like rework and really spend the time to like reprogram those preconceived notions that are making you feel worse and making the situation like, it's not constructive thoughts. Like, those are not constructive. Those are not helpful, right? When you're feeling like garbage and when you're not motivated, those thoughts of like, yeah, you suck, you're never going to be motivated again. Like, that's not helpful, right? So rework some of those thought processes. I read this book called Do Nothing, How to Break Away from Overworking, Overdoing, and Underliving by Celeste Hidley. It really breaks down where this is all coming from. You know, this need to do things all the time and be productive and be busy and have calendars full of events. Like, I really liked it, so I'll link it below. It was like such a relief to understand what was happening and see like, you know, first of all, you're not alone and that there are other solutions, you know? I'll also put some other books I've been recommended below for burnout too in the description box if you want to check that out and spend some time, yeah, like kind of understanding how it all comes, where it comes from, and how you can constructively work through those. Tip 6 is more of like a technical, strategic one. So like, this tip is to build in safety nets, right? Put money into savings when you can. So if you actually do need to check out, you can. You know, if you want, you can create passive income methods if it's possible for you. Some things to protect yourself if you do need to take that like 6 to 12 months off to actually recharge and come back from a really serious burnout. And the interesting thing here is that one of the main reasons why I started my business, Digital Business Manager Bootcamp, was because of my freelancer burnout. And I was thinking like, what if I can't freelance one day? Like, what if I'm incapable of working one day? What will I actually do? And that's how I began thinking like, oh, maybe I should have a backup plan. And maybe I should like put into place some sort of like passive income stream, like maybe a course, maybe a digital product. Okay. And then I started creating that. And I created that business using this thought process of like, how can I create a business that does not require me to run and to work properly? And that is how this business, like Digital Business Manager Bootcamp, became eventually, now as of 2021, my full-time work. So that's really interesting, like how that kind of led to this. So think through what you can do to protect yourself, like create a 3-month savings account, then a 6-month, then a 12-month, you know, explore passive income options, check out what services you could offer that would be like your unique competitive advantage, ones where you can charge more because the demand is higher than the supply, you know, where the value is not tied to the amount of time that you're sitting at a computer. Most importantly, to prevent burnout is to figure out what is actually sustainable for you long term. So here's a quick exercise as well, just to kind of get into the mindset where we're prepared to create something sustainable for ourselves. So for a second, close your eyes and imagine you are a business owner with the most amazing, top tier, incredible dream unicorn star employee. Like, this person is like, you tell your mom about this person, like they are amazing. It's almost like they do everything in your business and your whole business depends on them to survive. Would you make this person, honestly, work 40 plus hours a week nonstop, no paid time off, knowing that that wasn't sustainable for them and that at some point they're probably going to burn out? Or, I mean, first of all, think about what you would do with this person, but I know that I would sit down with this person, ask them what they need, what's important for them to recharge, renew themselves, and how we can create a schedule where they can work in a way where they feel good about it for the next 10, 20, 30, or however long they want to work. So that is how we want to approach this situation with ourselves. For some reason, we are so harsh on ourselves. We're like, work harder, like you're not working hard enough, all this stuff. We would never say this to somebody else. Like I would never tell a friend who's like, I'm exhausted. I would never be like, that doesn't matter, just work harder, right? Like you're not doing enough. I would never say that. So like treat yourself as if you were the best employee in your business, because you really are. Like you're the person that does everything. What would you say to this person? How would you treat them? What is a work-life balance that works for you? Like society, again, has like drilled into us, we need to work 40 hours a week to be productive, amazing cogs to the machine. But like, do we? There are more and more alternative ways to make a living nowadays. And as a freelancer, we have so much control over our schedule, our pricing, our packages, the clients we work with. We can make small adjustments to make freelancing life work for us long term, for forever really. So map out what your ideal day looks like. What is a day you've had like in the past few months where you felt amazing at the end of the day, you felt like you really got a good amount of work done, but you didn't overwork yourself. There was breathing room, you were still treating yourself well, you took care of yourself physically, mentally, you felt socially recharged, personally recharged, and you felt like creative, at peace, you felt joyful. Map out what that day looks like hour by hour and what the key ingredients of that day were. Then think about how you can work those key ingredients into your daily life. And I know money is important and we all need money to live, but burning yourself out and working in a way that's not sustainable long term is not only horrible mentally for the biggest asset in your business, you, it's also bad business and financial decision making, in my opinion. Right? So review your life. Like what is going on financially too, because that definitely has a lot to do with how much pressure there is on like burning out and your work, and depending on all of that money you need every single month. So how much money do you realistically need to make? You can do like a financial audit, right? We're taught from a young age that our purpose in life is to like work and consume, right? Like we work, then we take that money, then we spend, and then we do the cycle over and over again. So one thing to think about is, can you spend less money so you can work less? Can you consume less? What are you currently spending money on that you could cut from your life that really doesn't fulfill you and you really wouldn't really miss it, right? Would cutting that expense be worth working a few hours less a week? I know for me, I try to keep my personal expenses super low so that I don't ever have to depend on having to work 40 hours a week to survive. So have a think about, what would I be willing to trade off? Like, could I spend less so that I can work less? Because that's totally an option as well. And I know a lot of this is like mindset work, right? Knowing that, there is more to life than just your work. Your work is one thing, and knowing that and fully accepting it is hard. It's like two different things. It's like, yeah, I know that like life is more than just my work, but like fully accepting it is a whole other topic. And for a long time, I was like, who I am is my work. Like I'm 100% work, right? But that's not healthy. Like you shouldn't be entirely work. You shouldn't be entirely anything, really. You shouldn't be 100% anything. You should have balance. So every part of you gets a chance to recharge. It should be more like 20% this, 20% that, 20% that, 20% that, right? And this took me a long time to accept and internalize, because I depended on my work to make me worthwhile for such a long time, and coming to this point to accept like my self-worth is inherent. Nobody can take it from me. Nobody can take it from you. So yeah, it's very important to work on that understanding slowly and accept that for yourself. It'll make a huge difference. Like you are a unique person made up of like many wonderful parts. There's so much to you, to who you are, to explore, that's so much bigger and more amazing than just your work and your productivity and your output. So that's it. There's that video. It felt a little heavy and I felt pretty uncomfortable talking about it because yeah, it's like a tricky subject. But I'm glad and I hope we can continue talking about this, and I hope it was useful. If it was, let me know. And know that you aren't alone if you're feeling those symptoms of burnout or you're burnt out. Ask for help, seek medical help if you need to. And that's it for this video today. And I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.